When you need someone to talk to and you don't know what to do, call us 4400. When you're feeling all alone and they turn their back on you, call us 4400. Call us 4400. Call us 4400. Call us.
All right, welcome to the Kind Counseling Podcast. It's your host, Cami Roberts. Once again, I'm just glad to have you guys here. Today, we're going to be talking about relationships. All right, and joining me today, we have three guest hosts. I guess you could say we have the wonderful Danya Roberts, otherwise known as my wife. We also have Fred Charles, the one and only, and then supermodel Deshaun Geddes. All right.
All right.
We dragged him in from the runway in France.
Oh, snap.
Okay.
So today we're gonna look at relationships, and we're just using the movie Malcolm and Marie, which recently came out on Netflix. And we just wanted to talk to you guys today about relationships, like positive relationships, toxic relationships, and just what our thoughts were about what a relationship should look like. So everybody, how you guys doing?
Great.
Wonderful.
Quick question. Have we all been in that situation? All four of us been in that situation? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. I know we've been in some toxic.
My face, right? You see my face, right? Please.
Fred is taking the film.
Positives. I'm just asking if we all been in that situation. I just want to know now.
So all right. So let's quickly. Let's talk about Malcolm and Marie. What do you guys think of the movie? Daniel, tell us how you really feel. What do you think of the movie?
I spent the entire movie thinking to myself, what a toxic relationship. Who would put up with this? That's what I kept thinking the whole time. I'm like, no. The first 5 minutes in, I was like, no. I just can't believe that people think that that's normal.
Wait, when you say no, what you referring to?
Just the way they talk to each other, the constant arguing, the putting each other down. I mean, the things that they said, they just crossed every line that they could cross in a relationship. And yeah, it's just a picture of what not to do and what not to be in. To me, it was.
Well, just real quick. Well, I saw the first 30 minutes, right? And I said the same thing you did. And I was like, oh my God, this is like so toxic. But then when I saw all the way to the end, I started to think, well, maybe they just had a bad night, right? Maybe this isn't symptomatic of their whole relationship. Maybe they just had a really bad night. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I was like, how are they able to talk to each other like that and then go to wanting to be intimate and then back to, it just seemed kind of all over the place. So, the first 30 minutes, I felt like I was in a couple session in my office. I mean, it was crazy, in the sense that I was just like, oh my God, this is hurting my head, so yeah. Deshaun and Fred, what do you guys think?
I'm actually moving because
Fred, what do you think?
The movie had so many layers. I think just from an artistic point of view, I thought it was well written. I love the back and forth. I love some of the monologues, particularly the ones by Zendaya. I think she really stepped up her game in terms of being an actress. Like, she is no longer the kid from KC Undercover. She's legit as far as I'm concerned. I thought the cinematography and the directing was very, very good. It was on point. I love the fact that it was all black and white. So I enjoyed the artistic elements. As far as looking at these two individuals as a couple, they were toxic. And I do believe that if we heard the story before, it was similar. The thing is, I think it came to a head because I think she had enough of his selfishness. And the thing, because he essentially used her and it became a public thing because he creates this story and benefits from it. And the story is about her, but she gets no benefits. She gets no props. So I think all the stuff that might have happened in the past was okay up until now. I think he crossed the line now because he really showed himself to be self-centered and selfish and inconsiderate. And I think that was her breaking point.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Just the part about her feeling like he didn't thank her for her contributions to his movie. I think that was something that I think that women in general like. And probably everybody likes. I shouldn't say women, but women in general like for their man to acknowledge them and to thank them, especially when they feel as though they've given support and helped that man achieve a goal or arrive. They definitely do want that acknowledgement, and they want, if their boyfriend or their husband or whatever is being acknowledged in some way, they would want that acknowledgement as well. So yeah, I did get that part and I did understand it, but nevertheless, it was just crazy all over, just crazy.
John, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was just actually that's everything that everyone was saying. I like that. I like what Fred said, and I also like what Diane said. But I just find it funny when you put the nail in the coffin. Everybody wants to be acknowledged for the things they have done or even help somebody achieve, right? And that's perfectly fine. That's all she really wanted. She really wanted. But when someone's actions always keep showing you what they are, and then when that big moment, you really think they're gonna really show the acknowledgement that sometimes they're not. It ain't like, I felt like she knew what she had in a man, but most women think, and a lot of women do think, that they feel like they can change a man, even though his actions keep showing. He only hit me once. He only puts me down every once now and then. But if those actions keep showing, who are you really to blame? You really mad at him because he didn't acknowledge you? Come on, he probably didn't acknowledge you a lot of times, but you just chose that one moment to make it bigger than what he's been showing you throughout your whole relationship. So
that's a good point.
The movie, the characters might seem like the whole story is just one big hyperbole, but because we haven't maybe been in a relationship like that, but I think that the toxicity can take place in different ways for different relationships. It doesn't have to be the cursing and the back and forth arguing, but it can be very passive aggressive behavior. It could be just neglect. It can become in so many forms, but the end result is you have two individuals who it's just not working out. And I don't, if the movie would have continued, I don't think they continue with the relationship. I think the relationship comes to an end.
Right.
You think so?
Yeah,
I think so.
I think they stay together.
Stayed. Yeah, because she's a recovering drug addict. It seemed almost what's that word? What's the word I'm looking for? Codependent. That's what they speak to me. So I don't think she's gonna leave him. I don't think he's gonna leave her. I think they're gonna continue to be in their toxic relationship and cuss one another out every chance they get, and then kiss and make up, and then do it all over. I don't think she's gonna go anywhere.
I think I do agree with you, but I feel like there's a story that the story doesn't start when we start watching the movie. Right. Just like a lot of these relationships, when they come to sit in front of Cammie, or if you know a couple that has issues like this, it doesn't start when you hear the story. Okay. There's usually something that happened before. And I feel like one of the themes was she kept running away, even though she was still confined to this house and this piece of land. She kept leaving him. And every time he says, Marie, where you at, Marie? I felt like at the end of the movie, that was her last time leaving. And that was it. But I
This is-
think eventually, I'm sorry.
Did she leave though? Because she just went outside. That's how the movie ended.
Yeah, but I mean, again, I'm looking at it,
Fred's an artist.
so I'm thinking
You're reading between the lines,
it's
right?
metaphorical,
You
right?
did it all
Mhm,
play. This is the way I would have ended it.
Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
But I
Mhm.
go ahead, D.
No, but you're right. Most people, and when you're in a toxic relationship, they say, you know what? I'd rather deal with the devil I have now than deal with
That's
a new
true.
devil.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying? And,
Yeah. You're listening to the Kind Counseling Podcast. Feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now back to the show.
volumes, because they're like, okay, so he does all this. I'm used to this devil. I just don't want to go out there and meet a new devil, you know?
Well,
And that
Right.
sucks.
Mhm.
That
True.
sucks because it might not be a new devil. It might be a great angel, but you just automatically assume that all gods are going to be this way. So I'm used to it.
Right.
So,
Right.
so okay, so I see a lot of this in my office, right? Where people are in toxic relationships, but guess what? It's familiar to them. Meaning like they grew up in those kind of situations where either a man was abusing, like the father was abusing the mother, or people talk to each other disrespectfully, or and that just became the norm. So
Right.
for a lot of people, intellectually they can see that it's toxic, but emotionally they're drawn to it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So it's and to get out of that, it almost takes like something crazy to happen.
Pretty much. And I think what's crazy for that happened was out of all three of us men, we have women that won't allow.
Right.
we have that won't allow that. So,
You said
know,
the operative word. We won't allow it.
we won't allow that.
Yes, Lord.
We
Mm.
just know better. But
Well,
you're right.
well, listen, I think speaking of, that's a good point, Deshaun, because early on in our marriage, Danya made it real clear, right? She's probably the first woman I came across that was very clear, okay? Where she said, if you ever cheat on me, just stay where you are, where you at, okay? Because I'm not gonna take you back. And I was like, not that I wanted to cheat, but the point is
Right.
that most people aren't that direct about, just laying the cards on the table, like that, setting the standard. And I think for some people, they tolerate a lot and then try to put the standard in halfway through the relationship, and
Right.
I think that's too late.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the
Go ahead, Fred.
I was going to say one of the issues for both of these individuals and a lot of people in relationships is what Donnie said earlier, is the codependency. I'm based on the information that we got from the movie, I don't believe his character was raised in an abusive household. Based on the description she gave, it was like, a very nice upbringing. But there are guys or girls for that matter too, who need to be needed.
Right.
Okay. And I think because of her drug dependency, he rescued her and he wants to be that hero all the time. And he's probably like that in every relationship where he needs to be the centerpiece, the center of attraction. And she provides that for him because she's dependent on him.
Right.
So you don't think he learned? You don't think that he learned to speak that way to a woman from somewhere?
He might have, but I think sometimes, and I can only just this is generalizations, but I think in that world of Hollywood where you're making movies and if you're a superstar, people change. You get gassed up. And the worst characteristics of an individual come out, especially if you're being held on a pedestal. And we've seen it time and time again.
But I don't know if it comes out of nowhere though. I think somehow it's embedded in you, and then the fame and the notoriety bring it out. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong, but I don't think that comes out of nowhere. Because I was gonna say, just to piggyback on what Cammie said, that for me, the important thing, like when I was looking at this, it was something, the way they were speaking to each other, the way they were dealing with each other. For me, it was so unfamiliar, because I never saw my father talking to my mother like that. I mean, yeah, they had their disagreements or whatever, but I never ever saw my, even if he raised his voice, he didn't curse at my mother. They didn't curse at each other. They didn't, this back and forth where they're trying to, take these pot shots and hit below the belt and say things to make each other feel so horribly. I never saw that. And I thank God I never saw that. So for me, that's not something that I would even entertain in a relationship, right? Because I'm not used to that. And I'm not going to allow you to speak to me in a way like that. But again, I think it comes from your environment, your surroundings, what you've seen growing up, and then you gravitate to that as an adult because that's what you're familiar with. So it feels normal for someone to talk to you like that. It feels normal to talk to someone like that. So yeah, I just felt like, yeah, this is crazy, and it's sad that people can be in relationships like that and actually think that this is normal. This is how relationships are supposed to look.
Well, let me ask you guys. I mean, is that ever like a conversation that you had in the beginning of the relationship in terms of what's acceptable and what's not? I mean, anybody.
I think based on like when I first got with Nicolene, there were things that were understood. It wasn't like a line drawn in the sand, but just conversations based on her experiences and conversations about my experiences. I think it was understood what we were and were not going to tolerate and accept and wanted to deal with this go around together as a couple.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
with me and Jess, because it was kind of long distances. You got Brooklyn and Jersey. It was, what that everybody knows that first year is always like magical,
Mm-hmm.
It's just, y'all just going on the floor. But it was somehow you just knew, like, I don't want to get too much. You just, women,
you knew she would cut you.
when your grandma knows, then you just know. You just got a certain know, like, I don't think I should say that type of. I think I lower my tone just a little bit. It's just sometimes you just certain women you just know what not to do.
So yeah, Dejourne, that's a good point. So how do you know?
And what is it about those women?
Right. How do you?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Just the way, you know what it is? It's just the way they carry themselves. It's just the way they carry themselves. It's I love a woman that wants me, not a woman that needs me.
That's a good point.
Yeah, she wants me. She don't need me. She wants me. So that speaks volumes. When a woman don't need you, she just wants you. She wants to be with you. She don't need you like, oh, I need him because I need him to pay half of this or half of it. I want you. There's a difference between I want and I. So and I guess the way they carry themselves, you just know, like, hey, like, nah, this is a woman. I'm sorry, like,
right. Right.
So
can't mess around.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's clearer just even in how somebody carries themselves.
Right.
I mean, you knew what women you can, for lack of a better word, like play with, as opposed to, you got to be serious with.
Right.
Because I remember Danya's one of her good friends at the time when we started dating, and she gave me a ride home from church one day, and she was like, "You better not be playing with my sister." So I was like, so she had like people coming for me already.
Yeah.
But the thing is, but the thing is also, Danya had a reputation as somebody that you didn't mess with. Like, you know what I mean? So if you were gonna go in that, I didn't mean like you.
I don't know why.
Okay, all right. So everybody knew if you're gonna step to her, you gotta come with your A game. It's not like, you're just gonna be playing around. Right. So and that goes by how somebody carries themselves. Fred, you want to jump in?
And that's true for you guys too. I have to say that there are certain men that you can't say certain things to, or you can't be a certain way with. And I know you all think that Cammy is lowly, meek, and mild, but I knew that
No,
this
no,
guy,
yeah,
this,
yeah. I remember.
this,
I
this
think I did
guy's for real. This guy's for real. He's the truth. So I think it goes both ways for guys too. That there are stand-up men that okay, I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna. There are lines I'm just not gonna cross with this guy. And then there are other guys that are just like whatever. But
Whatever.
Well, I think every relationship has that one situation where it's understood. So like I had mine, like we had gone to a jazz club, and it was Thanksgiving Eve, and without getting into the particulars, my wife to be, she came out of her face. So I had to, fix it. I had to say that.
Fix
And,
it.
and she would tell you, I mean, if she were here, she would explain to you that she got it and
Right.
never went there again.
mhm.
But you have to set the standards. You have to let it be known, okay, this is what I will and will not tolerate. Because I was in a situation before that I was like, listen, I'll never go through this ever again.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
And unfortunately, with relationships like those, you're in it way much longer than you should be.
Mhm.
Exactly.
It's almost like impossible to get out.
Mhm.
But I think if you find yourself in one, the positive is that you know what you don't want, and then you also know what you do want moving forward.
Yep. And those things got to be nipped in the bud. You can't let them go. The very first time they emerge in a relationship, you've got to nip it in the bud. Otherwise, it's just going to continue. So that very first time that he cursed at her or called her out her name, I was like, is this dude for real? She should have nipped that in the bud.
But see, again, that it happened before.
Right.
Yeah, I would think
Exactly.
so. Yeah.
It's part of the relationship. I
Mhm.
think again, they just reached a point in the movie where she had enough, and it really hurt her this time. Like
Yeah.
if you see the woman in the movie, she's hurt. She's hurt in the
Mhm.
bathtub. She's hurt when she's laying down and she starts crying. He really went there. I
Yeah.
guess for the first time, because all the other things that he did, she was willing to tolerate, probably because he got her clean, whatever the case may be. We don't know. We can only speculate. But
Yeah.
at that point, because he neglected her, and at the end of the movie, she says it a million times. Thank you. Thank you. That's all she wanted. And he's never given her that.
He's never given her that. Yeah. And he really cut her down too. I felt bad for her. I was like, oh my God, this guy is awful.
And she wasn't
but
exactly, she wasn't, a fairy princess. She had her own cutting words as well.
Mhm. She was fighting
she
fire with him.
did. But
She
I
was.
feel like he started he started in on her first though. If I'm not mistaken, he started in on her when he started asking her what's wrong with you, or whatever. And then he started getting in on her. And then I guess to retaliate, she then went in on him as well. Yeah, she had a few choice words for him too,
Mhm.
but
But
that's just it's
have
awful.
those few words, Danya. Was she
Well,
justified to have those few words that
What
she
happened?
said? Was she justified
Well, hey,
for having those?
listen.
Oh,
If you feeling froggy, then leave, okay? Because if you're gonna come
There
at
we go.
somebody,
there
if
you
you're
go.
gonna come at somebody, don't expect that they're not gonna come right back at you. I mean,
All right,
what can I say?
That's true. Let me ask you a question. Let's say in this scenario, right? Let's say the scenario that we just saw the movie. Let's say that whole place, everything, he paid for everything. Let's say everything was him. Let's say like all the money is on him. She's coming in with nothing, right? So let's say she got
Mhm.
whatever the case may be. Should he be allowed to say those things to her because she had nothing?
No.
Okay.
No,
No,
absolutely not.
you're right. You're right.
No. Yeah, no, absolutely not. I mean, where's the respect? Respect is a two-way street. So, you bringing everything to the table is one thing, and me respecting you is something completely different. So,
Right.
if your attitude towards me is you can talk to me any kind of way because you're paying for everything, you won't get any respect at all. You will not get any respect because that doesn't earn respect. So yeah, no, and vice versa. If she
Right.
were bringing everything to the table, she shouldn't make him feel less than because she's able to do that, you know? So no,
Do you think they
no,
love
they
each other?
crossed every line.
Mm, mm.
No,
Say
because that's
again?
not what love looks like. Mm-mm.
Well, for some people, that is what love looks like.
Yeah.
I'm not
It's
saying
what
it's
love
healthy.
looks like, but it ain't, but it's not love.
Right.
It may look like that to them, but it's not love. It's not
Right.
actual love. And so that's the and that's what I was talking about as to what you're familiar with and what you're used to. It
Right.
could really kind of warp your view of what healthy relationships and healthy love is supposed to look like, depending on or what you're familiar with, what you grew up with, what you know, what you've heard, what you've seen. All of that can change our perceptions. And so yeah,
Well, I mean,
it's just
I've counseled people who say like somebody who doesn't bring drama to the relationship, they're boring. You know what I mean?
yeah, I've
Like,
heard that
you
too.
know,
Mhm.
so the thing is that they're so not used to peace and serenity that you know, like there has to be drama, otherwise it's not love. I was gonna say
Boring.
also in terms of relationships in general, there has to be there got to be fair fighting. Meaning, like when you fight, it can't be like Don, you were saying, like it can't go below the belt.
Right.
Because you know when you say certain things, you just like you pushing the argument to a whole different level.
Yeah.
And he then in the movie, this guy, I thought they both were, but I think he went like extra deep in with her, man. You know, like to win the
Yeah,
argument.
yeah. And some things you can't come back from.
Right.
Yeah, and
You
that's
can't
Exactly.
come back from. I'm just
That's
like,
yeah.
I
mhm.
mean, the fact that she even allowed that man to touch her, he wouldn't be able to say 2 words and then try to come touch me, honey. Cause what? No. Go
Yeah,
sit down somewhere.
Kemi,
Mm-mm.
your friend, me and you know Kemi, all Kemi business. I mean, you know how
Yep. That
Kemi
doorknob.
eggshells in that house.
Listen, I'm sure the same is true for the both of you. Because I know your wives.
It is.
The thing is,
Mhm.
when he goes there and and I think part of it is for our edification, but he exposes all the dirt on her. We have to assume that he's never done that before. That's why I believe they're not going to be together if the movie would have continued. It's a wrap. I think,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he's so egotistical. He
Right.
believes that he can do this
Right.
and still have her.
Mhm.
Right.
But she's
Mm.
but she's a very wise individual, and she knows him. And I think she was able to press the right buttons, and that really bothered him. And I
But-
think by the end of the movie, he's on his heels and he's vulnerable. I think the tables have turned and she has taken control over the relationship. And I think at that point, she's able to free herself from him.
Mm.
Mm.
But most women know how to push their man buttons, you know. If y'all wives don't know how to push our buttons, I don't think they'll be your wives.
I got news flash for you.
What's that?
Boy.
You guys know how to push our buttons too.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we do.
I mean,
Mhm.
yeah.
But Cammy, let me ask you, as a professional who's meeting people like this
Right.
regularly, what advice do you give them?
Yeah.
In terms of if they're in this kind of situation,
Yeah.
would you say, Daniel?
Jesus.
Separate.
Oh,
Separate?
turn it on.
Separate. Lord,
Well, I mean, listen, I think that sometimes, listen, I've had couples in my office where I had to tell them I can't counsel you because it's too toxic. Like, meaning like if you act like this in my office, I can't imagine what you're doing at home. And I've had to tell people, listen, you guys, you're not able to communicate effectively for me to even help you. Because, you know, like you can't even listen to each other, the way you talk to each other, the threats, you know, that kind of stuff. It's like, I'm like, I can't even give you homework because you know, to go home and try because it's so toxic, you know? So, but sometimes what that leads to is like, I kind of give people like a very direct approach in the sense of, this is what I'm seeing, you know, this is what's happening. you got to make a decision. Meaning, like, if it's the person in an abusive situation, let's say whether being cheated on or verbally abusive, you got to make a decision, right? Because this is what he's doing. You got to make a choice. Similarly for the guy, you got to make a decision because this is inappropriate what's happening. Unless you're willing to go in a different direction, it's just going to be this is just going to be continuous, like over and over. You know what I mean? So I try to set like real ground rules with people in these kind of situations early. You know, basically setting structure and boundaries, because that's what they're lacking, right? And it's almost like I have to teach them how to listen to each other because they don't know what, you know, they're not familiar with that, right? And that's not an easy process. And for a lot of people, it's like, it's too hard and they don't want to do it. Because that basically, what you're doing is trying to almost undo everything that's familiar to you.
Right.
Right.
And
So
some
that's not that, huh?
Some people like that kind of drama too. Things exciting.
Yeah, he choked. I love
Right. Yeah.
Well, the other thing is also when you have somebody who is in a situation where they're dependent on the other person financially, or if there's kids,
right.
people are not leaving like just that easy.
Right.
I mean, people are not leaving that easy.
That's why I had kids. I knew she wanted.
Oh my God.
You gotta be with me now. You gotta stay with me now, please. I'm nothing without you.
Oh my God. So what you guys have any comments anything about, I guess, about the movie or the relationships, like anything else you want to add to it?
Well, I think one of the keys to any relationship is both parties have to consider each other. You know, you have to be concerned about the other person's welfare, and it doesn't have to be a marital or a romantic relationship. It's a friendship, any relationship. You know, mother-daughter, any relationship. There has to be some mutuality in terms of concern. And you know, I had a conversation with almost an argument with my father-in-law a few years ago about the concept of love, you know, and love being, you know, the centerpiece of a relationship. And he was explaining to me that he believed that love is a feeling, and I believe that love is an action. Right. You know, every day that you wake up, you make a decision to demonstrate that love, whether it's to your child, whether it's to your spouse, whether it's to your parent, whether it's to your neighbor. You have to act. It's something that you do. You think about it and then you execute. You know, the feeling of love, obviously that is a feeling, like Deshaun said earlier, it feels magical. Right. But guess what? That feeling is not going to always be there. If you're having an argument with your spouse, you're not thinking about, you know, running around the park holding hands, but you still have a responsibility to demonstrate love. Yeah. And I think that's the problem that most, you know, these couples have, that, you know, where these toxic relationships, they're not thinking about that. They're looking in the mirror and just worried about themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess the thing, like what we've been saying also is like, it's hard to give something that if you never got it.
Yeah.
You know I mean? True. That is almost like, it's almost like you need a corrective experience. You know what I mean? Like in a sense, like you need somebody outside of your family to love you in order for you to know what that looks like. You know, I mean, some people can overcome that, you know, based on observing other situations, but emotionally that's hard. You know what I mean? Like to give something that you've never gotten, like you've never received.
Yeah. You know? That action, it's an action word.
It is an action word.
It's not butterflies and.
So what are these people getting when they stay in these relationships if it's not love? What is it, or what is it they think they're getting?
Well, it could be stability, financial stability. It could be being protected. You know, it could be for protection. There's a lot of things that people get into a relationship for, and it not necessarily be love, you know. And I think that's what's sad about it. You know, I like him because I feel like if anybody come at me, he'll protect me on this and that. And that's cool. But who's gonna protect you if he's mad at you? You know what I'm saying?
Good
So
point. That's a good point.
True.
Right. I mean, and listen, I think we also, I mean, we all are human beings and we have needs, right?
Right.
And a person might not be great in one area, but they might, you know, they might be good in another area. And if that's the thing that you need the most, you know, it might,
Yeah.
for some people, it's worth it.
Right.
You know what I mean? So,
Right.
you know, so
That's kind of like Wendy Williams and her husband. I don't know if
Right.
you all saw that movie, but you know, her husband apparently had been cheating for years, but she loved I think she loved about him was the fact that she felt protected by him.
right.
So she endured all those years of his infidelity,
Mm.
I guess until, you know, he got some other woman pregnant. She endured all that for so many years because she said he made her feel safe.
Mm.
And so,
Right.
you know,
Mm.
I mean, I guess it's about what you feel you really need.
right.
Yeah.
And listen, there are many women who, not that they're okay with infidelity, but the motto is just don't bring it home.
Mm.
You know, I mean, we've all heard that. You know,
Mhm.
I mean, I find it to be extraordinary that
Thank you.
someone would want, because there's so much baggage that comes with that.
Right.
You know, because don't bring it home doesn't necessarily mean don't, you know, perform in my bedroom, but there are things, there's the emotional elements that come in, there's, you know, potential babies,
Right.
illnesses. I mean, it's a very layered situation, and it's
It
crazy that people feel that way.
Yeah, yeah. And that's something I've never understood as a woman. I mean, I don't know, you know, for me it's just like how could you I wouldn't even be able to look at you. I wouldn't even want to be able to be around you, much less stay with you for years knowing that you're doing that.
Right.
So I don't know. I
Well-
guess everybody's just different, you know?
Yeah, I think also some of that could be cultural too, like meaning like in the sense that I mean like in West Indian culture, like I hate to say it, but men are almost given like a license to have a woman on the side. You know, not in the sense that it's okay, but people just kind of like turn the other, you know, like they just it's almost like not a big deal. Like, you know, so in the sense of, but I think people that come to this country and see the culture of America, then it's not acceptable.
They
Right.
watch a little "Oh My Children" and it's a wrap.
Right. There you go.
Right.
Right. So yeah, so it's and if you look at, you know, people always say like, well, the divorce rates were really low like 50 years ago. That's because women couldn't leave.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and that was also like, I mean, I've heard, you know, people tell me like, listen, that, you know, women say like, well, then they told their mother, and the mother just said, listen, that's what men do. Just go home and cook them a meal, or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's almost like, you
Stay
know,
in
give,
it.
right.
Stay in it and
Oh.
and just deal with it.
Right.
And you know, don't run that man off. Some people are told you're not going to get anything better than this, and so yeah, it's it could be cultural, you know, and then like Deshaun said, it could be because I need you to do XYZ for me, so I'm going to stay in this. I'm going to deal with all the infidelity. I'm going to deal with the abuse. I'm going to deal with whatever. But either way, it's unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the other thing I was just gonna say real quick is that there's a lot of men experiencing that as well too. It's not just women, right?
Mhm.
But the thing is that men usually don't say nothing because it's
Yep.
embarrassing,
Mhm.
Mm.
right? So, you know, I mean, I've had you know, men in my office talk about, you know, a woman hitting them. You know what I mean? But they're not gonna hit her back because then it's like I got arrested, or everybody's gonna look at me like whatever, you know, or or a woman even cheating or using them for their money.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. That's,
Mhm.
you know, so I mean, I hear that a lot now. So, you know, it's you know, I think it goes both ways.
Yeah, yeah.
it does. Because women cheat way better than men. Women. I had a friend, right?
Oh,
Girlfriend invited her side dude to the surprise birthday she was having for her man.
Ooh, that's
Oh,
bold.
wow.
That is bold. Because most guys ain't gonna say, "Oh yeah, I'm smashing your girl," so they'll be in the
Right.
cut. And so it's just
Wow.
See,
women can do it. Women can do
I can't even understand that.
it.
I can't, the idea that, I mean, I must be getting old. I can't even understand the idea that you involved with somebody who got a man and you know, and they're together and anyway, let me stop there.
It's
I'm dating-
convoluted. It's
I'm dating
convoluted
myself.
and complicated. That's that drama, you know,
Mhm.
that some people have to have. It's just ridiculous. Like, you know, having juggling two men.
Mm.
That's I don't even know how a woman would do that. I don't know how that would get.
Cammy's not here. Imagine having two Cammys.
Lord.
Cammy
No.
and Kimmy.
Cammy and Kimmy.
Cammy and
What?
Kimmy, yes.
Having-
Yeah, no. I got to close one door first and then I'll open up another one.
Kimmy, you all right? You look like you just got a text from something that you didn't want to get a text.
No. Actually, I thought the
It's
thing.
Kimmy.
I thought.
Coming over.
I thought the thing shut off. Actually, that's why. Man.
Okay.
I'm struggling with
Oh my
Zoom, man. Struggling with Zoom.
Yeah, let me in. I'm downstairs.
Right. There's always something, man.
Oh
But
man.
yeah, man. But
I
listen,
just want- first of all, I just want to congratulate the Roberts for having a handsome, young, intelligent 20-year-old in their lives right now. Appreciate that.
Oh,
Happy
thank
birthday.
Thank you.
Possible young man. That's what's going
Thank
on.
you.
yeah,
We got a young adult in our midst.
yeah.
Gotta start paying rent.
I'm telling you, right? Something. Actually,
Oh.
yesterday he went out and he bought groceries. I was like,
I know, right?
Okay.
and he spent a lot of money too.
Oh wow.
I was like, oh, okay. Well, next time, let me know so I can give you a list.
Yeah, man. Can't complain. Can't complain. The boy is good. Can't complain.
Yeah.
But listen, man. We just want to thank you guys for always being great guest hosts and always making yourself available. And Kind Counseling loves you guys.
Oh, appreciate it.
And we love you.
Yeah.
Oh, appreciate it.
All right. So we're gonna stop here and we'll see where we go with the next one. All right. So just thank you guys for coming, and we'll have a good one.
If I ever took a loss, I learned a lesson. I won't ever think I'm better than the next man. I've been down before to come up, I ain't stressing. Baby, I'm too busy counting all